Good morning. Today we are going to be reading Chapter 7 of Sherlock Holmes' story, A Study in Scarlet. It is the first of the Sherlock Holmes stories. It's the story of how Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes met. But we're not just going to be reading the words, we're going to be stopping and talking about interesting vocabulary words that could be useful to you if you're an advanced learner of English. We'll also be explaining expressions. And the good news is we're doing this live, so if you're watching this with me right now, you can ask questions. What does this mean? What does that mean? That's the whole point of the video. So ask questions in the comments, and I will explain things that aren't very clear. Also, when we're finished with the chapter, don't go away because we will be bringing in some people on Discord, and they will be volunteering to work on their accents and their pronunciation while we practice some of the interesting vocabulary words that we encounter as we read. If you want to be a volunteer, you can join the Discord server. There's a link in the description. And as usual, the first two people who volunteer once the video starts will be the volunteers. And today we have Pachu and Alex are the first to volunteer. So we will be practicing with Pachu and Alex. All right, well, let's get started with Chapter 7. And it's the final chapter. I didn't realize these stories are pretty short. So we're already finished with A Study in Scarlet. Maybe we should recap what's happened so far. The story starts with Watson returning from India and Afghanistan. He was injured. He was a young doctor, and he's recovering. It's going to take him 9 months to recover. So it's a pretty serious injury. And while he's recovering, he's making very little money, and he needs a roommate. And that's when he meets Sherlock Holmes. When he meets Sherlock Holmes, he discovers he's a very unusual person, studying very strange things like how does blood splatter on a wall, or how long does it take clothes to dry if they're wet, or how long if you beat a dead body, when does it stop showing bruising? Very strange things for I think at this point it's the 1870s. So they meet and they talk, and then while this is happening, there's a murder, and the detectives of Scotland Yard need to consult Sherlock Holmes. So Sherlock Holmes goes to see what happened, and there's an abandoned police officer finds a dead body in an abandoned house, and he's an American. Nobody knows why he's there or why he was murdered. And there's one interesting clue is a wedding ring that was lost. And it seems that the person who murdered this American really wants that wedding ring because it seems like he came back that night to get it. So Sherlock Holmes gets the idea, let's place an ad in the paper. We found your wedding ring. Come and get it. So a little old lady comes to recover the wedding ring. She takes it. Sherlock Holmes tries to find it. Sherlock Holmes tries to follow her, and she disappears somehow in the middle of him following her. Oh, that's all I remember. I think there was more, but that's all I remember. So there's a mysterious disappearing lady, a wedding ring that people want. Let's see. This is the conclusion, final chapter, and it seems pretty short. So let's see what we've got here. The conclusion, Chapter 7. We had all been warned to appear before the magistrates, that's like a judge, upon the Thursday. But when the Thursday came, there was no occasion for our testimony. A higher judge had taken the matter in hand. To take something in hand means to take responsibility for it. Let's see, that might be a good thing to practice today. I know we didn't do that one. Don't tell me we did that one. I'm sure we didn't. Oh, we've got Sarah and Pachu and Muhammad says he volunteered before Alex, but I'm sorry, Muhammad. What I see is Pachu first, and then Alex, and you third. That's what I see here. I'm not sure if you see something different, but that's how I see. That's the way it appears here in Discord. Sorry about that. Okay, so to take something in hand means to take responsibility for it. Let's put that, take something in hand. Sarah says, I'm first. Sarah, I don't see you. You're supposed to volunteer in Discord. I don't see you even. I don't even see you here. Except for your question. Yes, we'll be practicing later. Yes, but Sarah, it's the first 2 people who volunteer once the video starts, so you can't make a reservation hours in advance. Sorry about that. It has to be people who are watching at the moment. Okay, so to take something in hand is to take responsibility for it, to accept responsibility for it. So a judge said, I'll take this case. Okay, so let's continue. But when the Thursday came, there was no occasion for our testimony. A higher judge had taken the matter in hand. And Jefferson Hope had been summoned. So we've seen that word summon before, which means that somebody, like an official person, has requested that you come and visit them. A summon means, come here, I need to talk to you. That's really what it means. So when it says that Jefferson Hope had been summoned, that means the judge said, Jefferson Hope, you come here and talk to me. For a tribunal where strict justice would be meted out on the very night after his capture, the aneurysm burst, and he was found in the morning stretched upon the floor of the jail cell. Okay, there's a lot in here. The thing that I forgot with the last chapter was that the person who was murdered had a secretary. I think his name is Jefferson Hope. I think that's who it is. Or, no, it's confusing. They were looking for the private secretary of the person who was murdered. That's like an assistant now. It's not like a hello. And what happened? They discovered that he was staying, that the dead American and his secretary were renting a room from an old lady. And so they went to go visit the police went to go visit the old lady. And it turns out that the man who was murdered was a drunk, and he used to do horrible things, and he had very bad behavior while he was staying there. And he even tried to get to the old woman's daughter. And the old woman's son, her brother, was very offended by this. And I think they had a fight, if I remember correctly. And when the drunk man finally left, the brother said, I'm going to follow him. But it was 2 hours later that the man was murdered. So now they think the son did it. But Sherlock Holmes doesn't think that. The police think that. So Jefferson Hope, he's either the son of the landlady, or he's the private secretary. I can't keep track of names. Let's see. My recap is not helping. It's just confusing. On the very night after his capture, the aneurysm burst. Now, an aneurysm, it's like a blood vessel bursts in your brain, but let me get a real definition. That's not a good definition. Yes, an aneurysm is a medical condition where a blood vessel swells and then bulges, and then it becomes weak. So that's something where something in your brain is becoming swelling means becoming bigger, and so I think eventually it explodes. My uncle died of an aneurysm. On the very night of his capture, the aneurysm burst, and he was found in the morning, stretched upon the floor of the cell, with a placid smile. Placid means like peaceful. There's a verb, placate, comes from the same word. It means make someone be calm, make someone feel peaceful. I can say, how can I placate all of the volunteers? I don't know how. I just try to be fair. I can't think of a fairer system than what I'm doing. But if you can think of one, tell me. I'll be happy to use it if it's fairer. All right. With a placid smile upon his face, as though he had been able, in his dying moments, to look back upon the useful life and the work well done. Gregson and Lestrade will be wild about this death. So that means they'll go crazy, probably. Holmes remarked as we chatted. It's over next evening. Where will the grand advertisement be now? I don't see that they had very much to do with his capture, I answered. What in the world is a matter... What you do in this world is a matter of no consequence, returned my companion bitterly. The question is, what can you make people believe that you've done? Never mind, he continued more brightly after a pause. I would not have missed the investigation for anything. There's been no better case, with my recollection. Simple as it was, there were several instructive points about it. Simple, I ejaculated. Okay, I'm confused. Let me read that again. I think we have to go back. So Jefferson, what's his name? Jefferson Hope must have been the son of the old lady. And the police are convinced that he's the murderer because of all the evidence, the circumstantial evidence. He was angry, he was offended, he followed him into the street. A few hours later, the man was dead. So obviously he did it, right? But he happens to die in a jail cell overnight because of an aneurysm. And the police said, well, that's it. Finished. But Sherlock Holmes is saying, no, I don't think so. But really, the conversation is a little bit confusing. Let's look at it again. Gregson and Lestrade will be wild about his death, Holmes remarked, as he chatted it over the next evening. Where will their grand advertisement be now? I'm not sure what he's talking about when he says grand advertisement. I don't see that they had very much to do with his capture, I answered. So Watson is focused on, was it really they who captured him or found him? What you do in this world is of no consequence, returned my companion bitterly. The question is, what can you make people believe that you've done? Oh, this is weird because it seems like, I know we did chapter 6. Now, gentlemen, the form law must be... Did we skip chapter 6? Did I get the... Maybe we should start... I think I got the wrong chapter. Well, let's see chapter 6. Chapter 6. I think we should be doing chapter 6. All right, I think I've got the chapters mixed up. Okay, we're starting over. It's chapter 6, not chapter 7. All right. Sorry about that. Let's start over. A continuation of the reminiscences of John Watson, MD. Okay, to reminisce is to reflect about the past or to think about the past. So the reminiscences of Dr. John Watson means that he's trying to remember all the things that happened in the past. So he's writing this many years later. Our prisoner's furious resistance did not apparently indicate any ferocity in his disposition towards ourselves. For on finding himself powerless, he smiled in an affable manner. Wait. No. Wait, something's wrong here. I'm really sorry about this. Somehow I've gotten myself confused. Are there 2 parts? Maybe there are 2 parts of this, and I'm looking at the second part. Yes, that's why. Okay, I didn't realize that there were 2 parts. This is the problem. I thought that was a very quick story. So it's chapter 6, part 1, or chapter 7, part 1. That's the confusion. Oh well, we got a little review of what's to come. Okay, well now it makes sense. I thought I was going crazy. Okay, let's start over. Chapter 7, part 1. The intelligence with which Lestrade greeted us was so momentous. If something is momentous, it means that it is a very special moment, a very big moment. So people say a momentous occasion. That means like a very special occasion. The intelligence with which Lestrade greeted us was so momentous and so unexpected. So when Lestrade came to us and gave us this news, it was a big deal. It was a big moment. That's what momentous means. Momentous means a big moment. That we all 3 were fairly dumbfounded. Okay, you can use dumbfounded, but not dumbfounded. I guess that must be an old way of saying it, dumbfounded. But to be dumbfounded means you're so shocked you don't know what to say. The word dumb, which maybe you know, D-U-M-B, that means stupid. But another thing that dumb used to mean in the past, it doesn't really mean that now, means someone who cannot speak. So if you're talking to someone and they don't communicate with you, maybe somebody would say he's dumb, and it doesn't mean that he's stupid. It means that he can't speak. They don't do that anymore because dumb has evolved to just mean stupid. And so to be dumbfounded means to be found without words. You found in a state where you can't speak because probably you're surprised. Gregson sprang out of his chair. Okay, that's a phrasal verb, and spring, I think we've talked about it before, but I'll just show you what a spring is because it's possible you don't know that word. Sarah says speechless. Yes, dumbfounded is another way to say speechless. Okay, so this is a spring. So to spring up, it's very literal. Boing. That means like jumping up. He sprang up. Okay. Just a reminder, let's just keep things nice and friendly here. We want to have a nice, friendly environment. So the intelligence with which Lestrade greeted us was so momentous, such a big deal, such a big moment, and so unexpected that we were all three fairly dumbfounded. I'm going to say dumbfounded and not dumbfoundered. I've never heard anyone say it like that. Maybe it's something they say in England, but I've never heard it. Dumbfounded is what I'll say. Gregson sprang out of his chair and upset the remainder of his whiskey and water. Upset to mean to have strong negative emotions, but upset can also be literal, meaning sort of like turning upside down or knocking something over. So he knocked over his whiskey because he was so shocked when he sprang up. I stared in the silence, and Sherlock Holmes, whose lips were compressed and his brows drawn down over his eyes. Stangerson, too, he muttered. The plot thickens. So Stangerson, that was the name of the secretary. Okay, so the American is dead. His secretary's name was Stangerson, and they're looking for him, hoping to get more information. But now he's dead. It was quite thick enough before, grumbled Lestrade, taking a chair. I seem to have dropped into a sort of council of war. Are you sure this piece of intelligence? Are you sure of this piece of intelligence? Stammered Gregson. I've just come from his room, said Lestrade. I was the first to discover what had occurred. We've been hearing Gregson's view of the matter, Holmes observed. Would you mind letting us know what you've seen and done? I have no objection, Lestrade answered. Oh, yeah, so remember in the last chapter, Gregson had come and said, I found the murderer, the landlady's son. And Sherlock Holmes was not very impressed by that. But Gregson was very proud of himself. And now Lestrade, his sort of rival detective, has come, and Gregson is a little bit nervous. So this is Lestrade speaking. I have no objection, Lestrade answered, seating himself. I freely confess that I was of the opinion that Stangerson was concerned in the death of Drebber. Drebber is the name of the murdered American. This fresh development has shown me that I was completely mistaken. Full of the one idea, I set myself to find out what had become of the secretary. Okay, so we've got a phrasal verb here. I had set myself. Okay, no, we don't. We have find out, but I set myself. That phrase there means I made the decision. I'm determined. I set myself to find out. I decided. I was determined to find out. What had become of the secretary? What happened to the secretary? So they said, oh, well, the secretary probably knows everything. I'm going to make this decision. I will find the secretary. That's what it means. They'd been seen together at Euston Station at about half past 8 on the evening of the 3rd. And 2 in the morning, Drebber had been found in the Brixton Road. The question which confronted me was to find out how Stangerson had been employed between 8:30 and the time of the crime, and what had become of him afterwards. I telegraphed to Liverpool, giving a description of the man and warning them to keep a watch upon the American boats. I then set to work calling upon all the hotels and lodging houses in the vicinity of Euston. You see, I argued, that if Drebber and his companion had become separated, the natural course of the latter would be put up somewhere in the vicinity for the night, and then hang about the station again the next morning. Okay, that's complicated. Let's do it again. You see, I argued that if Drebber and his companion, that's his secretary, had become separated, the natural course for the latter, that would be the companion, the secretary, would be to put up somewhere. That means, like, find a room. To put up somewhere means to spend the night. So he would spend the night somewhere in the vicinity, somewhere near the train station. If the secretary and Drebber had been separated, the secretary, at least the thinking of the detective, is he would try to rent a room for the night somewhere very close to the train station, in the vicinity of the train station, and then hang about the station again the next morning. So the detective thinks the secretary will spend the night and then return to the train station in the morning looking for his boss. They would be likely to agree on some meeting place beforehand, remarked Holmes. So remember, if you're not old enough to remember the days before cell phones and all of that, you probably would make sure if you were going somewhere with someone, you would say, okay, well, if we get lost, especially a very crowded place, if we get lost, let's meet at 12 o'clock near the newsstand. That was very common before cell phones. You would agree to meet at a certain place if you got lost together. They would likely to agree on some meeting place beforehand, remarked Holmes. So it proved. I spent the whole yesterday evening in making inquiries entirely without avail. If you do something to no avail, that's an interesting phrase. Let's put that. We'll make that one of our words today. So we've got take something in hand, which is from chapter 7, part 2. And we've got to no avail. That's kind of a fancy expression. That means it was useless. It was unsuccessful. Whatever I was trying didn't work. So the detective said, I made inquiries. I asked around about this secretary, but it was to no avail, which means it didn't produce any result. It was useless. It didn't work. So it proved. I spent the whole of yesterday evening making inquiries, entirely without avail. It's worded a little bit different, but it's the same meaning. This morning I began very early and at 8 o'clock I reached Halliday's private hotel in Little George Street. On my inquiry as to whether Stangerson was living there, they at once answered me in the affirmative. See how Victorian language is? Instead of just saying they said yes, I asked them if the man was staying there, and they said yes. They have to use much more flowery language and say, he answered in the affirmative, which means he said yes, but in much more complicated language. No doubt you're the gentleman whom he was expecting, they said. He's been waiting for a gentleman for 2 days. Where is he now? I asked. He's upstairs in bed. He wished to be called at 9. I'll go up and see him at once, I said. It seemed to me that my sudden appearance might shake his nerves and lead him to say something unguarded. The Boots volunteered to show me the room. What are the Boots? Maybe those, that, because that sounds a little bit disrespectful, referring to people as boots. And a lot of times it's used for soldiers when they talk about a war. Oh, we can't just bomb the place, we need boots on the ground. That means we need soldiers. Soldiers wear boots, so they call them boots. So I think here they're referring to police officers, but not like the detectives or the people high up, like these kind of police officers. It seemed to me that my sudden appearance might shake his nerves and lead him to say something unguarded. Wait, let's read. I just want to read through this again. So they go and they're looking for Stangerson, and they find him. No doubt you are the gentleman whom he was expecting, they said. So the people at the hotel are saying, oh, you're looking for Stangerson? So you're the people he's waiting for. You're the people he's looking for. So he's in that room waiting for someone. He's been waiting for a gentleman for 2 days. Oh, that's his boss. He's been waiting for his boss. Where is he now? I asked. He's upstairs in bed. He wished to be called at 9. I will go up and see him at once, I said. It seemed to me that my sudden appearance might shake his nerves. I'm not sure who's talking, but he's saying, I was afraid that if I went directly to the room, it would shake his nerves, meaning make him scared or nervous or make him react in a bad way, and lead him to say something unguarded. Oh, no, he's saying the opposite. He's saying, if me, the detective, if I go into the room, he'll be so nervous, maybe he'll confess. He'll say something unguarded. He'll maybe reveal a secret that normally he wouldn't say. The boots volunteered to show me to the room. It was on the second floor. There was a small corridor leading up to it. The boots... It's very strange that they keep using that. Maybe I should ask ChatGPT. Maybe it will know. So I'm actually being very specific, and I'm saying, what does the boots mean in Chapter 7, Part 1 of Sherlock Holmes? What does that refer to? Let's see. And it gives hotel servant. So it's like the person who takes your bags to the room. I've never heard that before. It says the role was common in British hotels during the 19th century. In the context of the story, when the narrative mentions the boots recognized him at once, it indicates that this particular hotel servant identified the deceased guest, who had previously checked in under the name Joseph Stangerson. All right. So the boots is like a hotel person who carries your bags or gets you things. The boots pointed out the door to me and was about to go downstairs again when I saw something that made me feel sickish. I've talked about that, putting that ish at the end of words before. I've made a couple of videos about it, I think, a long time ago. And when you add ish to something, it means approximately. So if I say, I will meet you at 5-ish, or the video will start at 5-ish, that means it will not start exactly at 5. It will start a little before or a little after. That ish makes it very approximate. What color was the car? It was greenish. Some people get very confused between green and blue. There's kind of an area where you say, is it green? Is it blue? So some people will say it's bluish, and some people will say it's greenish, like around green, around blue. So the detective is saying, I saw something that made me sickish, like made me feel a little sick, around sick, in spite of my 20 years' experience. From under the door, there curled a little red ribbon of blood, which had meandered across the passage. Meander means it's kind of the opposite of direct. So if something is going directly, it moves in a straight line. But if something meanders, it goes in all different directions. I bet you, I'll do it right now, but if I type meandering road into Google, you'll see pictures of a road that is shaped like an S. Or if I type meandering river, again, you'll see a river that's sort of shaped like a snake. Let's see. Let's test that out. See if I'm right. Meandering. Oh, we've talked about it before because I can see purple, like I've done it before. That doesn't surprise me. I think maybe during 1984 we might have talked about it. See, a meandering river. Try a meandering road. Oh, actually, it's the name of a river in Turkey. That's why. The meander. I wonder if that's where we get the word from. It could be. Let's see, meandering. Let's try meandering road. But again, you see, meander means very indirect. So if somebody is talking and they're not getting to the point, they're meandering. You can use that in a lot of different ways. To meander. Maybe let's practice meander. That's a pretty good word. I'll put that on my list today. So we've got take something in hand, even though it's from a different chapter. It's a good expression. To no avail and meander. We'll find one more today to practice. From under the door there curled a little red ribbon of blood, which had meandered across the passage. So from the door, there's a ribbon of blood, and it's meandering across the hallway. So it goes all across the hall. And formed a little pool along the skirting on the other side. I gave a cry, which brought the boots back. He nearly fainted when he saw it. The door was locked on the inside, but we put our shoulders to it. So they opened the door with their shoulders. And knocked it in. The window of the room was open, and beside the window, all huddled up, lay the body of a man in his nightdress. He was quite dead, and had been for some time, for his limbs were rigid and cold. Rigid means can't move. Remember, limbs they could be like your arms or your legs. Those are your limbs. And if your limbs are rigid, rigid means doesn't move, can't move, not flexible. So when there's a dead body, at some point, it becomes very difficult to move the joints. It becomes like a statue. It's very hard to move. So the limbs had become rigid. You couldn't move. You couldn't do this. For his limbs were rigid and cold. Oh, Sarah's asking about the word huddle. Oh, I moved right. I think I remember reading that, but I didn't really explain it. Okay. All huddled up. Okay, let's look at a picture of huddle. Huddle means bringing everything close together. So when you see something like this is a huddle. So that's very common in sports. This is exactly what I picture when I think of a huddle, is this. But really it means bringing things close together. So if the body is huddled up, he's not laying like this. He's laying like this in a ball. He's all huddled up. Oh, it's camera fix time. Let me just fix this. All right. He was quite dead and had been for some time, for his limbs were rigid and cold, and when we turned him over, the boots recognized him at once as being the same gentleman who had engaged the room under the name of Joseph Stangerson. The cause of death was a deep stab. A stab is if you have a knife and you do that, that's stabbing. The cause of death was a deep stab in his left side, which must have penetrated the heart. And now comes the strangest part of the affair. What do you suppose was above the murdered man? I felt a creeping of flesh. Creeping is like a slow movement, and flesh is your body. So if you feel a slow creeping of flesh, is sort of a feeling that, sort of a feeling of something is coming over you, maybe bad. Creep is a negative word. A slow creeping of flesh. And a presentiment of coming horror, even before Sherlock Holmes answered. The word Rache, written in letters of blood, he said. That was it, said Lestrade, in an awe-struck voice, and we were silent for a while. So now the secretary is dead, and again the word Rache is written on the walls, which is the German word for revenge. And Lestrade says yes, and he was awestruck. You know that word awesome, A-W-E-S-O-M-E. So that word awe means surprise. So if something is awesome, it means it's full of surprise. And strike means hit. So he was awestruck means he was hit by surprise. He was very surprised. There was something so methodical and so incomprehensible. So that seems like a big word. Comprehend means understand. And comprehensible means something that you can understand. And incomprehensible means I cannot understand it. So there was something I cannot understand. There was something so methodical and so incomprehensible about his deeds, of his unknown about the deeds of this unknown assassin, that it imparted a fresh ghastliness to the crimes. Ghastly means horrible. That's a very British word. It's not something that you see in North America very much, but it means horrible. There's something really horrible about this crime. My nerves, which were steady enough on the field of battle, tingled as I thought of it. Tingling, if somebody touches you very lightly, see, this is no problem. But if somebody does that, that creates a weird sensation, a very strange sensation. That's a tingling sensation. My nerves were tingling, so I had a feeling all over my body, like pins and needles or something like that. The man was seen, continued Lestrade. A milk boy, passing on his way to the dairy, happened to walk down the lane, which leads to the mews at the back of the hotel. He noticed the ladder, which usually lay there, was raised against one of the windows on the second floor. So there's a milk boy who's walking behind the hotel. The mews, I think that's where they keep horses and carriages and things like that, transportation. But let me just make sure. Yeah, it's a place to keep horses and transportation, like a carriage. So there's a milk boy walking behind the hotel around the mews, and he sees something strange because normally there's a ladder and he noticed that a ladder, which usually lay there, was raised against the windows. So usually the ladder is on the floor, but this time somebody had moved the ladder like they were trying to climb into the second floor, which was wide open. So it seems like somebody had taken the ladder from the floor, put it against the building, and then went into the second floor window. After passing, he looked back and saw a man descend. Descend means go down. So he actually saw a man going down the ladder. And he came down so quietly and openly that the boy imagined him to be some carpenter or jointer in the hotel. So the boy just thought it was somebody working, doing maintenance on the hotel. He took no particular notice of him beyond thinking in his own mind that it was early for him to be at work. He has an impression that the man was tall, had a reddish face, and was dressed in a long brownish coat. He must have stayed in the room some little time after the murder, for we found blood-stained water in the basin where he had washed his hands, and marks on the sheets where he had deliberately wiped the knife. So this murderer, apparently what he did was he... maybe that's... Okay, I'm not going to speculate. I'm trying to help you understand, but I don't understand the story myself. I think either the murderer, that's how he got into the room, because remember the room was locked from the inside. So the police had to force open the door because no key can open it if the room is locked from the inside. So, and then it seems that what the murderer did was either he took the ladder and he went into the window of the room, or he took the ladder and he went into the hotel that way. I guess the room. I think it's a different room. Let's see. I glanced at Holmes on hearing the description of the murderer, which tallied so exactly with his own. There was, however, no trace of exultation or satisfaction upon his face. That word tally means adding something up. So 1 + 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9, plus 5 is 14. This is a tally. It's kind of a list of things that add up to something. So Watson is comparing a tally of the detective's description of the person that they saw and the description that Holmes imagined, and they're almost perfect matches, or maybe they are perfect matches. But also Watson observes that Holmes doesn't care. He's not impressed. He knows he's right. He doesn't care if the detective confirms it. Did you find nothing in the room which could furnish a clue to the murder? He asked. Nothing. Stangerson had Drebber's purse in his pocket, but it seems that this was usual, as he did all the paying. There was 80-odd pounds in it. When you say odd in front of something, that kind of means more or less. Maybe 75, maybe 82. 80-odd pounds, it means around 80 pounds. It's like ish. There were 80-ish pounds. There were 80-odd pounds. 80-odd pounds sounds better. Whatever the motives of these extraordinary crimes, robbery is certainly not one of them. There were no papers or memoranda in the murdered man's pocket, except a single telegram dated from Cleveland about a month ago, and containing the words J.H. is in Europe. There was no name appended to this message, and there was nothing else? Holmes asked. Nothing of any importance. The man's novel, with which he had read himself to sleep, was lying upon his bed, and his pipe was on his chair beside him. There was a glass of water on the table, and on the window sill, a small chip ointment box containing a couple of pills. Sherlock Holmes sprang from his chair. Oh, we have spring again. Everybody's springing today. Sherlock Holmes sprang from his chair with an exclamation of delight. "The last link," he cried exultantly. "My case is complete." The two detectives stared at him in amazement. "I have now in my hands," my companion said confidently, "all the threads which have formed the single tangle." Okay. You probably know the word thread in relation to chatting. If you go onto a message board, they call the conversations threads sometimes. I think, doesn't Facebook have some, or Meta have some threads social media thing that they're trying? But really, a thread, if you don't know what a thread is, it's this. This is thread. Okay, now let's look at tangled thread. Sarah says threads are topics. It's not really that threads are topics. They call them threads because it's like sewing. You've got one person's comment, and then you add another person's comment, and then you add another person's comment. And I think that's why it's called a thread. It's like a string. It's really more about the conversation than about the topic. And tangle is this. You can have tangled hair. You can have tangled relationships. It means confusion, very difficult to separate and very confused. Not a good thing to be tangled. So this is sort of a metaphor that Sherlock Holmes is using here when he says, how did he say it? "I have now in my hands," my companion said confidently, "all the threads, all the pieces of string that are tangled together." So each little clue, each little story for Sherlock Holmes is a thread that he's trying to organize, but they're all tangled up. And he's trying to organize them and find the answer. That's a little complicated. Does that make sense? Does that explanation even make sense? It's hard explaining things and thinking, oh, maybe they'll understand it this way, but I can't see your face, and I don't know if you're saying what? I don't understand. Muhammad says, "I think there's a popular movie named Tangled." Really? Well, let's see. I never watch movies, so I have no idea, but I'll write Tangled and see what kind of movie it is. Oh, it's a Disney animation. Okay, I think just based on the picture, there's a children's story, a traditional children's story called Rapunzel. I don't know if you know that story, Rapunzel, but it's about a girl with very, very long hair, and a prince who rescues her. She's a prisoner in a tower. I don't really remember the story. But and the way that the prince rescues her is she takes her hair and she lets it down. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down." I just remember that line from the story from when I was a kid. And then he climbs her hair to the top of the tower to rescue her. I don't remember why she had such long hair. But so the reason that's called Tangled, okay, the original story is called Rapunzel, but now Disney likes to try to modernize stories, so they give it a funny name. And the reason it would be called Tangled was because would be for two reasons. It's kind of a joke. The first reason is that her hair could easily tangle. Probably she always has to brush her hair because it's so long. If she doesn't do that, the hair will tangle. That's how you talk about disorganized hair. It's all tangled. Or, you know what? You should see my computer. I've got wires everywhere. I'm really horrible. Some people are very good at organizing the wires of their computer, but my wires are all tangled up. It's really embarrassing. It looks ugly. But the other way that you can use tangle is to talk about, I don't know what this movie is about, but if you talk about a tangled relationship, that usually means that there are 3 people involved or more. Like maybe there's a man and he has 2 girlfriends and it causes problems. Or maybe a girl has 2 boyfriends, that causes problems. It's a tangled relationship. It's a confused, tangled relationship. Anna says, good morning. Good morning, Anna. So Sarah says, oh, I love that cartoon. Is there something like that in the cartoon where there's some kind of problem with the relationship? Maybe 2 men want Rapunzel and there's a fight, or maybe the prince is a bad guy and he's got 2 girlfriends or something like that. That would be maybe why they would call it tangled, not just because of the hair, because it has 2. You could use it in 2 different ways. All right. Let's go back. I have now in my hands, my companion said confidently, all threads which have formed such a tangle. There are, of course, details to be filled in, but I'm certain of all the main facts from the time the driver parted from Stangerson at the station up to the discovery of the body of the latter, as if I had seen them with my own eyes. I will give you proof of my knowledge. Could you lay your hand upon those pills? So he's saying, can you get those pills for me? And Lestrade says, I have them. Producing a small white box, I took them, and the purse, and the telegram, intending to have them put in a place of safety at the police station. It was the merest chance my taking these pills. For I am bound to say that I do not attach any importance to them. Sarah says the witch kidnapped her to make her younger because she has magic long hair. Okay. Well, maybe it's not the joke that I thought. Maybe it's just a reference to her very long hair. But it seems like it has a relationship component to it. I'd have to see the movie. I don't watch Disney movies, so I don't know if I'll be able to tell you. All right. So Sherlock is asking the detective for the pills, and the detective says, yeah, here, I have them. And actually, he says it was the merest chance my taking these pills, meaning it was just the smallest luck that I took these pills with me, because to me they are unimportant. But Sherlock Holmes seems to think they're extremely important. It was the merest chance my taking these pills, for I'm bound to say that I do not attach any importance to them. So that he's just saying, I don't know why I took these pills with me. They're not important. Give them here, said Holmes. Now, doctor, turning to me, are those ordinary pills? They certainly were not. They were of a pearly gray color. I'll just show you what a pearl is, in case you don't know. You know, now when I type something into Google, it always changes what I'm looking for into something I don't care about. I hate Google. I can't wait for Google to go away. They're so horrible. These are pearls. They certainly were not. They were of a pearly gray color, small and round and almost transparent against the light. From their lightness and transparency, I should imagine that they are soluble in water. Soluble means that they will disappear in water. Like, sugar is soluble, salt is soluble. If you put sugar or salt into water and you mix it, it would just disappear. So if something will disappear in water like that, then it's soluble. Water soluble, they say. Precisely so, answered Holmes. Now, would you mind going down and fetching the poor little devil of a terrier, which has been so long, and which the landlady wanted you to put out of its pain yesterday? Okay. Would you mind going down and fetching? Fetching means go and get. Go and bring to me. So if you say fetch something, it means go where it is and then bring it to me. So would you go in and get? Would you go and fetch the poor little devil of a terrier? A terrier is a type of dog, which has been so long, and which the landlady wanted you to put out of its pain yesterday. So this terrier must be very old, which has been so long. That kind of means which is so old, and which the landlady wanted you to put out of its pain yesterday. The landlady wanted you to kill the dog yesterday because it's so old and it's in a lot of pain. You should just kill it so it doesn't suffer anymore. So he's saying, go get that old sick dog that's just about to die. I went downstairs and carried the dog upstairs in my arms. Its labored breathing and glazing eyes showed that it was not far from its end. So the way that it was breathing and the look of its eyes showed that it was going to die pretty soon. Indeed, its snow-white muzzle proclaimed that it had already exceeded the usual term of canine existence. Muzzle, that's the part of the dog that goes out like this. That's the muzzle. And so it's saying the muzzle of the dog was all gray, which showed that it's much older than most dogs. Most dogs don't get gray hair. I placed it upon a cushion on the rug. I will now cut open one of these pills in two. I will now cut one of these pills in two, said Holmes, and drawing his penknife, he suited the action to the word. One half we return into the box for future purposes. The other half I will place in this wine glass, in which is a teaspoonful of water, and you will perceive that our friend the doctor is right. It readily dissolves. Muhammad says, I always wondered why people used to cut dogs' tails. They still do cut dogs' tails. Actually, I have a type of dog that most people, if they got that dog, they would cut off his tail. I think that's horrible. I don't like that. So even though the type of dog I have, most people would cut off the tail because they think it looks nice. It's just for the appearance. But I think there's another reason too. It could be, because a dog that has a tail is very easy to see. So probably when they probably first started doing it for hunting reasons, because if you have a dog hunting, the animal being hunted can see the dog coming because of the tail, and probably they cut it off so that the other animals couldn't see the dog. But then it became a fashion, and now people only do it mostly for fashion reasons, like, oh, this dog always has their tail cut off, so we have to do it. Alex says they think it makes him a wild. What do you mean they think it makes him a wild? What does that mean? I'm not sure what you're trying to say, Alex. Yeah, so now mostly people do it for fashion because certain types of dogs always have their tails cut off. But I don't like that. I don't think that's a good thing. This may be very interesting, said Lestrade, in the injured tone of one who suspects that he's being laughed at. I cannot see, however, what it has to do with the death of Mr. Joseph Stangerson. So they find these pills, and the pills are soluble. That means if you put the pill in water, it will disappear into the water. You won't see the pill anymore. It will just look like a glass of water. It dissolves. Sherlock Holmes just said dissolves. It dissolves into the water. And Sherlock Holmes seems to think this is very important. But the detective who brought the pills, he doesn't understand what's going on. Alex says, I think they do that to make them aggressive. Okay, that's more understandable, to make them more aggressive. No, I don't think so. I mean, once the tail is healed, they don't think about it anymore. It's a very temporary thing. And I don't think it makes them more aggressive. I think originally it's for hunting, because a dog with a tail, that's like an announcement that they're coming. And I think it's mostly hunting dogs or guard dogs that get their tail cut, because that tail is a disadvantage when you don't want to be seen, because it sticks up. But now it's just a fashion, I think. Okay. Now I'm going to ask ChatGPT. I can't help. I want to know, why do people cut off dogs' tails? I'm pretty sure it started for a practical reason, and then it just lost its purpose and people still do it. It's called tail docking. They say one reason is to avoid injuries. Like, so if a dog is a working dog, the tail is something easy to grab onto or to be injured. I don't know if that doesn't really make sense to me, though. Hygiene, cleanliness. So to prevent because the tail could get very dirty sometimes. And number 4, Alex, misguided behavior beliefs. Some believe docking prevents aggression. Oh, they say the opposite, Alex. They say some people think if you cut off a dog's tail, they're less aggressive. Yeah, I think you shouldn't do it, though. I don't think that's nice. Sherlock Holmes sprang from his chair with an exclamation of delight. "The last link!" he cried exultantly. "My case is complete." Oh, no, we already read this. I'm on the other column here. We don't have time to reread all that. All right, so they put the pill in water, and it dissolves. "This may be very interesting," said Lestrade, in the injured tone of one who suspects that he's being laughed at. So Lestrade thinks everybody's laughing at him, because Lestrade said, "Oh, these pills aren't important." "But I cannot see, however, what it has to do with the death of Mr. Joseph Stangerson." So, okay, it's very interesting. The pill dissolves in water. So what? What does that mean? What does it have to do with the death of this man? "Patience, my friend, patience. You'll find that in time it has everything to do with it. I shall now add a little milk to make the mixture palatable." If something is palatable, it means something easy to eat. So if you have medicine or something that's disgusting, it has a bad taste, maybe you put some sugar to make it palatable. Or so that something palatable just means something that would be easier to eat. Usually because it's a disgusting taste or it looks disgusting. So Sherlock Holmes is putting a little milk in the water so that the dog will drink it. Maybe he would taste the pill and he wouldn't drink it, but now with the milk in there, it would be easy to drink. It would be palatable. And I'm presenting it to the dog. Find that he laps it up. When the way that dogs drink with their tongue, That's lapping something up. That's how dogs or animals, that's how animals drink. Lapping it up. Actually, we can use that in a fun way as a phrasal verb. I'll explain it to you when we do the exercise. That's a good phrasal verb. As he spoke, he turned the contents of the wine glass into a saucer. A saucer is like it's like a plate. It's like a very small plate. And placed it in front of the terrier, who speedily licked it dry. Sherlock Holmes' earnest demeanor had so far convinced us that we all sat in silence, watching the animal intently, and expecting some startling effect. None such appeared, however. The dog continued to lie stretched upon the cushion, breathing in a labored way. If you have labored breathing, labor means work, right? You know that word. And if you're breathing in a labored way, that means it's very difficult. You're working very hard to breathe. That's labored breathing. You have to work very hard to breathe. That's a sick person or a sick animal. But apparently, neither the better or the worse for its draft. Holmes had taken out his watch, and as a minute followed minute without result, an expression of utmost chagrin and disappointment appeared upon his features. He gnawed his lip. We've talked about gnaw before. It's like this is eating like this. Maybe some hard piece of meat. Like that. So if he's gnawing his lips, he's like this. Kind of a funny expression. He gnawed his lip, drummed his fingers. That's drumming your fingers on the table. And showed every other symptom of acute impatience. So great was his emotion that I felt sincerely sorry for him. While the two detectives smiled derisively, that means they're making fun of him, like, he thinks he's so smart. They're being derisive. Sarah says banting. Okay, this is your Egyptian problem, because it's not banting, which means talking, but panting, which means so it's with a P. Panting. Not a B, Sarah, a P. Panting with a P. Banter is talk. So bantering would be talking. This is panting with a P. Pachi is asking about chagrin. Let's define the word chagrin. A feeling of disappointment, embarrassment, or annoyance. Usually the only time you hear that expression, it's kind of a fixed phrase, to my chagrin, like to my disappointment, or to his chagrin, to his embarrassment. So it's almost always used in that type of phrase. He gnawed his lips, drummed his fingers upon the table, and showed every symptom of acute impatience. So great was his emotion that I felt sincerely sorry for him. While the two detectives smiled derisively, by no means displeased at this check which he had met. Pachi is asking about derisive. Derisive is like mocking, but let's get a better definition of that. Like they're making fun of him. Because, Sherlock was saying, oh, this pill is poison. I'm going to give it to the dog, and the dog will die. And Sherlock is waiting for the dog to die, and nothing is happening. And the two detectives are making fun of Sherlock. They're like, look at him, he's so stupid and we're so smart. Ridicule, mockery, scorn. It can't be a coincidence, he cried at last, springing from his chair and pacing wildly up and down the room. It's impossible that it should be a mere coincidence. The very pills which I suspected in the case of Drebber are actually found after the death of Stangerson, and yet they are inert. What can it mean? Surely my whole chain of reasoning cannot have been false. It's impossible. And yet, this wretched dog is none of the worse. Ah, I have it! I have it! With perfect shriek of delight, he rushed to the box, cut the other pill in two, dissolved it, added milk, and presented it to the terrier. The unfortunate creature's tongue seemed hardly to have been moistened in it before it gave a convulsive shiver. Convulsions are like this. Like jump, it's like a body jump like that. It happens, somebody's dying like that. That's convulsing. And a shiver, we've seen shiver many times. Ooh. So, a convulsive shiver. Imagine the dog dying, the way the body would shake and move. Pachu's asking about wretched. Wretched just means horrible, in horrible condition. And lay as rigid and lifeless as it had been struck by as if it had been struck by lightning. Sherlock Holmes drew a long breath and wiped the perspiration from his forehead. I should have more faith, he said. I ought to know by this time that when a fact appears to be opposed to a long train of deductions, it invariably proves to be capable of bearing some other interpretation. Of the two pills in that box, one was of the most deadly poison, and the other was entirely harmless. I ought to have known that before I saw the box at all. Muhammad says rigid means fixed to. I can't think of how you would use rigid to mean fixed. Can you write an example of how you would use rigid meaning fixed to see if I understand what you're asking? This is the last statement appeared to me to be so startling that I could hardly believe that he was in his sober senses. There was a dead dog, however, to prove that his conjecture is like a guess, had been correct. It seemed to me that the mists in my own mind were gradually clearing away, and I began to have a dim, vague perception of the truth. Pachu wrote pretation. That doesn't seem like a word, and I haven't seen a word like that. Maybe you spelled it wrong? Can you ask again? Startling. We've had startling many times. To startle someone is to surprise someone. Startling means surprising. Okay, Muhammad is saying you mentioned before that rigid is fixed or not moving. Okay, yes, fixed in the sense that you can't move it. Okay, because the reason I was confused, because if you say fix, that could mean like attach. Like the picture is fixed to the wall, means the picture is attached to the wall. And it doesn't mean fix in that way. It means fixed as in you can't, you can't, it's not flexible. You can't move it. Sarah says rigid, I think, is anger. Sometimes angry people can be rigid because if somebody is a rigid person, if they have a rigid mind or a rigid point of view, they will never change their mind. They will never explore or think about different ways of thinking. They have one way of thinking and they're fixed. They're rigid in their thinking. They don't move past one idea. But it doesn't mean angry. Sometimes people who are rigid have very strong personalities. but it doesn't mean angry. It just means never changes, doesn't change, can't move it, not flexible. Pachu says rigid could be like stubborn. Yes, rigid is like stubborn. They're synonyms. They could be synonyms. The last statement appeared to be so startling that I could hardly believe that he was in his sober senses. Remember, sober is the opposite of drunk. So the things he said were so strange, I couldn't believe he was sober. Let's say it like that. It's not exactly what he's saying, but it's very close. There was a dead dog, however, to prove that his conjecture, his guess, had been correct. It seemed to me that the mists in my own mind were gradually clearing away, and I began to have a dim, vague perception of the truth. All this seems strange to you, continued Holmes, because you failed at the beginning of the inquiry to grasp the importance of the single real clue which was presented to you. I had the good fortune to seize upon it. To seize something is to take something by force. To seize upon something is to take it with aggression or excitement. And every evening which has occurred to me since that has served to confirm my original supposition, and indeed was the logical sequence of it. Hence, things which have perplexed you and made the case more obscure. Obscure means dark, mysterious. Have served to enlighten me. So the things that confused you and made the case even more confusing, those same things have made me solve the case. Pachu is asking about supposition. I'm sure, Pachu, that you know the verb to suppose. Like, I suppose it's 10 o'clock. It's like, I guess it's 10 o'clock. A supposition is just a very fancy way of saying a guess or an assumption. Who was asking about compound? Somebody was asking about confound the other day. And here we're actually using it. I think that was Esteban. I don't know if he's here. But actually they're using confound in an interesting way. Let's see. It is a mistake to confound. This just means confuse here. I don't know if Esteban is here today, but we're using confound. Oh, I lost the sentence. Wait a minute. So it is a mistake to confound strangeness with mystery. Sherlock Holmes is saying don't confuse something that is strange with mystery. Sarah is saying, is seize like arrest? No. Arrest means stop. Okay? That's what it means. It's really the French word for stop. If you go to France and you see a stop sign, it will say arrêt. Arrêt. Let's see. French stop sign. I'm pretty sure that's what it says. Yeah. See? Really, the word arrest comes from French, and it just means stop. So if you go to France, the stop sign will look like this. Seize means to take something. So arrest means stop something, and seize means take something. So they're very different. You could say the police arrested me and they seized my car. You see the difference? The most commonplace crime is often the most mysterious because it presents no new or special features from which deductions may be drawn. This murder would have been infinitely more difficult to unravel had the body of the victim been simply found lying in the roadway without any of those outre or sensational accompaniments. I don't know what outre means. It's a French word. Let's see. Alex says confiscation. Yes, confiscate and seize are synonyms, and they're mostly both used by the government. Because seizing means take by force, and usually it's mostly the government that has that ability or has that habit of taking things by force. Outre is a French word. It means shocking, bizarre, strange. The murder would have been infinitely more difficult to unravel had the body of the victim been simply found lying in the roadway without any of those outre and sensational accompaniments, which have rendered it remarkable. So Sherlock Holmes is saying, if you had just found a dead body in the road, that would be very difficult to solve. But this man dead with the Rache written in blood on the wall, and the weird pills, and the wedding ring, and I don't remember what else. Those outre things, don't use that word. Nobody uses that word, but that's what he says. Those strange, bizarre things are what helped me to solve the crime. And it would have been much harder if he was just in the road with nothing. Mr. Gregson, who had listened to this address with considerable impatience, could contain himself no longer. "Look here, Mr. Sherlock Holmes," he said. "We're all ready to acknowledge that you are a smart man and that you have your own methods of working. We want something more than mere theory and preaching. It is a case of taking the man. I've made my case out, and it seems I was wrong. Young Charpentier could not have been engaged in this second affair." All right, so the Charpentier, that is the landlady's son. He is in jail right now because Detective Gregson thinks he killed the American guy. And the reason for that was because he was very angry with him for insulting his sister, and he followed him out to the road. In a few hours, the man was dead. So it seems pretty obvious that the son killed him. But while he was in jail, the secretary was murdered. And obviously, the son could not have done that. So now the detective is saying, okay, I'm wrong. It wasn't Charpentier. Lestrade went after this man, Stangerson, and it appears he was wrong too. You have thrown out hints here and hints there, and you seem to know more than we do. But the time has come when we feel that we have a right to ask you straight. How much do you know of the business? Can you name the man who did it? "I cannot help feeling that Gregson is right, sir," remarked Lestrade. "We have both tried, and we have both failed, and you have remarked more than once that I have been in the room, that you had all the evidence which you require. Surely you will not withhold it any longer." "Any delay in arresting the assassin," I observed, "might give him time to perpetrate some fresh atrocity." So remember, atrocity, which we've talked about before, means a horrible event. If you call something atrocious, it's a word that means really, really horrible. atrocity. Thus pressed by us all, Holmes showed signs of irresolution. So to be resolute means I'm making my decision, I'm very confident about my decision. To be irresolute means I can't make up my mind. I can't decide. So the two detectives are saying, Holmes, you already know who did it. You have to tell us. Even Watson is saying that. And Holmes is irresolute, like, oh, I'm not sure if I should. He doesn't know what to do. He can't make a decision to tell them or not. There will be no more murders, he said at last, stopping abruptly and facing us. You can put that consideration out of the question. You've asked me if I know the name of the assassin. I do. The mere knowing of his name is a small thing, however, compared with the power of laying our hands on him. This I expect very shortly to do. I have good hopes of managing it through my own arrangements. But it is a thing which needs delicate handling, for we have a shrewd and desperate man to deal with, who's supported, and as I've said on occasion to prove by another, who is as clever as himself. As long as this man has no idea that anyone can have a clue, there's some chance of securing him. So Sherlock Holmes is saying, I do know who this person is. It's going to be very difficult to capture him. And the reason I don't want to tell you who he is because if he discovers that I know, it will be very difficult to capture him. So I have to keep it a secret. But don't worry, because he won't kill anyone else. As long as this man has no idea that anyone can have a clue, there is some chance of securing him. But if he had the slightest suspicion, he would change his name and vanish. Vanish means disappear, and vanish in an instant among our 4 million inhabitants of this great city. Without meaning to hurt either of your feelings, I'm bound to say that I consider these men to be more than a match for the official force, and that is why I have not asked for your assistance. If I fail, I shall of course incur the blame due to this omission. But I'm prepared for it. At present, I'm ready to promise that the instant that I communicate with you, without endangering my own combinations, I shall do so. All right, this is pretty complicated, but what he's saying is, I can't tell you right now because I'm working on something and I don't want this to fall apart. I don't want it to fail. So I'm sorry, but once I'm finished, I will definitely tell you. Gregson and Lestrade seemed to be far from satisfied by this assurance, or by the depreciating allusion to the detective police. The former had flushed up the roots of his flaxen hair, while the other's beady eyes glistened with curiosity and sentiment. Neither of them had time to speak, however, before there was a tap at the door, and the spokesman of the street Arabs, I don't know why they called them street Arabs. I don't think that they're Arabs. It must be some kind of weird expression from the 1900s. The boy's name is Wiggins. That doesn't sound very Arabic to me. That must mean something. Young Wiggins introduced his insignificant and unsavory person. To savor something is to enjoy something. Or to enjoy the flavor of something. If something is savory, it's very delicious. And a lot of times savory is used to used to be like the opposite of sweet. You have savory, which means salty, and then you have sweet, which means sugary. So when you see on a menu or when you see people in restaurants talking about savory food, it could mean two things. It could mean extremely delicious, or it could mean very salty, or it could mean not sweet, something like that. It depends on the context. But usually savory could mean delicious. And unsavory means not delicious. It means bad tasting. It tastes bad. It's no good. So an unsavory person is a person where when you see them, you get a bad feeling like, oh, I don't, maybe they're dirty, maybe they're clean, but there's just something about the energy that they give you which feels negative, and you don't know why. So you call them unsavory. Somehow they don't taste good, if that makes sense. It's really what it means. It means it doesn't taste good. Savoir is the French word for taste. And so unsavory means it doesn't taste good. Sarah says unsavory like a lemon. No, a lemon is not unsavory. A lemon is sour. Unsavory just means doesn't taste good. Or leaves a bad taste. Please, sir, he said, touching his forelock. I have a cab downstairs. So Wiggins, one of the street boys that Sherlock Holmes pays to be a spy, brought a man who is very unsavory to the door. And the man says, please, sir, he said, touching his forelock. I have a cab downstairs. Good boy, said Holmes blandly. Why don't you introduce this pattern at Scotland Yard, he continued, taking a pair of steel handcuffs from the drawer. See how beautifully the spring works. They fasten in an instant. The old pattern is good enough, remarked Lestrade, if we can only find the man who put them on. I'm not sure what pattern means here. Very good, said Holmes, smiling. The cabman may as well help me with my boxes. Just ask him to set up. Wiggins. I was surprised to find my companion speaking as though he were about to set out on a journey, since he had not said anything to me about it. There was a small portmanteau, that's a trunk, in the room, and this he pulled out, began to strap. He was busily engaged at it when the cabman entered the room. I'm a little confused about what's going on here. Just give me a help with this buckle, cabman, he said, kneeling over his task and never turning his head. The fellow came forward with a somewhat sullen means like this. Not very friendly, looking very serious, maybe a little sad. Pachi said, Pachi, don't try to memorize the word portmanteau, because in contemporary English you would just call it a trunk, and that's it. If you start saying portmanteau, people either think you're talking about a word game, or they won't know what you're talking about. Sarah says sulky, sullen, sulky. They might even come from the same word. Defiant air, and put down his hands to assist. At that instant there was a sharp click. The jangling of metal. Jangling is like the sound of keys. I don't have any keys here to jangle. But imagine I'm holding some keys. The sound that keys make, that's jangling. At that instant, there was a sharp click, the jangling of metal, and Sherlock Holmes sprang to his feet again. Gentlemen, he cried, with flashing eyes, let me introduce you to Mr. Jefferson Hope, the murderer of Enoch Drebber and Joseph Stangerson. So Jefferson Hope, I don't know who that is, but now Sherlock has the murderer. The whole thing occurred in a moment so quickly that I had no time to realize it. I have a vivid recollection of that instant, of Holmes' triumphant expression and the ring of his voice, of the cabman's dazed, savage face as he glared at the glittering handcuffs, which had appeared as if by magic upon his wrists. Oh, so the person driving the cab, the taxi driver, he's saying that's the murderer. And Sherlock Holmes puts cuffs on him right away, which had appeared as if by magic upon his wrists. For a second or two, we might have been a group of statues. So they're all shocked, like they're not moving. So Watson is saying it's like we were, all three of us, me and the two detectives, are like statues. We're so surprised. We can't move. Then, with an inarticulate roar of fury, the prisoner wrenched himself free of Holmes's grasp. So somehow the prisoner escaped. He wrenched himself free. He pulled himself free. Uh-oh, I've gone blurry again. Sudden movements somehow make me blurry. He freed himself of Holmes's grasp and hurled himself through the window. He jumped through the window. Hurl means throw. He threw himself through the window. Woodwork and glasses gave way before him, but before he got quite through, Gregson, Lestrade, and Holmes sprang upon him like so many staghounds. He was dragged back into the room. And so then commenced a terrific conflict. So powerful and so fierce was he, that the four of us were shaken off again and again. He appeared to have the convulsive strength of a man in an epileptic fit. His face and hands were terribly mangled by his passage through the glass. But loss of blood had no effect on diminishing his resistance. It was not until Lestrade succeeded in getting his hand inside his neckcloth and half strangling him that we made him realize that his struggles were of no avail. So we have that of no avail again. That means all of his fighting, it didn't come to anything. There was no result. His struggles were of no avail. And even then, we felt no security until we had pinioned his feet as well as his hands. That done, we rose to our feet, breathless and panting. So now we have panting. Panting. We have his cab, said Sherlock Holmes. It will serve to take him to Scotland Yard. And now, gentlemen, he continued with a pleasant smile, we have reached the end of our little mystery. You're welcome to put any questions that you like to me now, and there's no danger that I will refuse to answer them. So now Sherlock Holmes is saying, well, case closed. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll tell you all about it. So I guess in part 2, I didn't realize that there were 2 parts. I guess he will explain how he discovered that this taxi driver was the murderer. All right, so this is what we're doing next. I've got 4 vocab. Don't go away. We're not finished. We're not finished yet. Now we're going to bring in Pachu and Alex, who were the first to volunteer once the video started. And we're going to practice several expressions and words. First is take something in hand. Okay, that's an expression that means to take on responsibility for it. To no avail, which means it was no use. I got no result. All of my work didn't result in anything. Meander, which means to go in the movement like a snake, a very indirect movement. And to lap something up. I'll explain that a little bit later. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a few minutes break, and in that time, I'm going to make some little exercises that we can do with Pachu and Alex, practicing these words, practicing these interesting vocabulary words. The focus will be on accent reduction, intonation, pronunciation, accentuation, things usually missed when learning how to speak English. And if you really want to improve your accent, this is going to be a way that will take you to a very different level in that. Okay, so you can practice along with us in a few minutes. I just need some time to put together some exercises, and then I will be right back. So don't go. Stay. Okay, we're back with a lot of yellow. All right, it's gone. I've got my list here with all my little exercises. Let's put that up here. All right. And let's turn off the music too. Does the music annoy you? I've received some comments recently that I should ditch the music, but I just like to have it in the background because sometimes I have to stop and think about something, or there might be a long pause because I'm getting something ready. And I just think it's nicer to have something in the background than pure silence. But apparently it annoys some people. What do you think? Should I get rid of the music from now on? I think it helps, but some people are telling me no. Okay. Well, most people don't seem to mind. All right. So now we're going into Discord. We'll bring in Alex and Pachu. Where are we? Now I'm sorry if it seems unfair that I picked the first two people who volunteer in Discord, but I can't think of a better way to do it. I want to avoid making appointments with people because sometimes people don't show up on time or they're late, and that becomes a problem. That becomes another problem to fix. So, but if you can think of a better way to select people, maybe a lottery, like we put the names in, and then I just pull them out somehow randomly. I don't know how I would do that, but I don't know. To me, that seems like the fairest way to do it, and I can't think of a better way to do it. All right. So let's enter the chat. Let's see. Are we here?
Hello, sir.
Oh, we've got Pachu. Hello, Pachu. How are you doing?
Great.
Fantastic. And Alex, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
I can hear you. Yes.
All right. So, let's see. We've got the wrong page here. Our first expression today is to take something in hand. Oh, have you seen that before, Pachu or Alex?
Yes, we studied this one before. Yeah.
We have? Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Really? Did we actually practice the expression?
Yeah, that was a few weeks ago.
Oh my god. I can't
that wasn't so long ago. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember that, Pachu?
No, sir.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm glad Pachu doesn't remember it. Well, anyway, we're practicing
Yes.
again. It never hurts to practice these things. They're useful. They're very useful things.
Mhm.
So, let's see. Let's read the definition first. To deal with something, especially when it needs
You
control,
deal with some
fixing,
Yeah.
or leadership.
fixing or leadership. Yeah.
All right. So, if Pachu, if I say he took control of the situation, he took control of the situation, what would be another way to say that?
He dealt with situation. Dealt with.
Try to use this expression. Take something in hand.
Okay, sir. He took as it in hand.
Okay. So you say the situation. That's okay. You can say it. That's perfect. But let's be specific and say the situation.
Okay, sir. He took situation in hand.
The situation.
He took the situation in hand.
He took the situation in hand. Can you say that, Alex? He took the situation in hand.
He took the situation in hand.
Okay. I'm going to write that out. It's not written here, so let's.
Mhm.
He took the situation in hand. And what are the important words in that phrase, Alex?
Took the situation in hand.
Okay, so we've got took and hand. Those are easy because they're one syllable. So it's very easy to emphasize these words. But then when we get to situation, how many syllables? Situation. That's 4 syllables. Which
Situation.
which syllable
3 or
has
4.
situation? Which one? Situation.
Situation.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
Can you raise your volume, please? Because
Oh.
I don't hear you.
Oh, really? Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
I've got it on the maximum. Is anyone else having trouble hearing me?
No, sir. It is okay.
No.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
Loud
know,
and
Sarah.
clear.
Are you sure it's not your equipment? Because I have my microphone on the maximum setting.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know what else I can do for that. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. Yes. I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we've got situation. You took this. How many syllables? Which syllable has the accent? And
Situation. Situation.
Way.
Mm.
So really, it's this sound here where we have to focus when we're making the rhythm of our sentence. This is the important sound. So it's he took the situation in hand. And why do I have 2
In hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you say that, Alex?
He took the situation in hand.
He took the situation in hand. So
He took the situation in hand. Yeah.
Okay. And just to make it sound more natural, this is how it would sound in regular speech. He took the situation. He took the situation in hand. That's more natural.
He took the situation in hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Sarah brought up the other day that it doesn't really sound like that in the movies. That's because we're exaggerating. So if we want to sound more natural, it's more subtle, but that's a little harder to do. He took the situation in hand. Can you try that, Pachu? He took the situation in hand.
He took the situation in hand.
Yeah. So we'll try to make it smoother. Try to make it sound a little bit more natural. Pachu, let's add some music to our sentence. He took the situation in hand.
He took the situation in hand.
Add some music. Which words or which sounds do you think would get some high tones?
Is a took situation and hand.
It's took. Really, the place where you want to make the tone is really around the accented syllable. So really, A is the thing that stands out most. So he took the situation, a situation. You hear that? It's just the A really that gets the music.
Okay. Situation.
Situation. How about hand? What kind of music does that get?
Yeah, is a high low.
Well, yeah, okay. Ending low. Let's just say it ends low. Let's keep it really simple. So he took the situation in hand. It goes down at the end. High throughout and then going down low at the end. He took the situation in hand. Can you say it like that?
He took the situation in hand.
Oh, can you try that, Alex, with a little bit of music? He took the situation in hand.
He took the situation in hand.
Like that. Okay. What if we change it and I say project, Alex? How would you change it? Try to keep the music and the rhythm of the sentence.
He took the project in hand.
What does that mean? He took the project in hand.
He took the responsibility, or he starts to do it in his own.
Okay. Can you try that, Pachu, with project?
He took the project in hand.
Okay, that's right. Can you change it, Pachu? Use mess.
Max.
Mess. Mess. Do you know that word? M-E-S-S. Mess.
Okay. He took the mass in hand.
Now you have to be careful because there are two words, and I'm going to write them. I'm just going to write them up here for you, okay?
Okay, sir.
So here's one word. We'll call that number one. And then let's put another word here, which is number two. Sarah's giving me number three. There are three words. Let's compare three words. This is a good point. Okay. Pachu, can you see the three words that I have written up on the screen?
Yes.
Say number one.
The mess.
Say number two.
The mass.
Say number three.
It's a miss.
Okay, that's pretty clear, actually. There are two very short duration vowel sounds, and there's one very long. There's one word with a very long vowel sound. Which one is long? Number one, number two, or number three?
Yeah, it's a two. It's a mass.
Okay.
Mass.
How many sound and also there's only one vowel sound that is very complicated. It's very dirty. It has a lot of sounds in it. And there are two vowel sounds that are very pure. Which one has a dirty vowel sound, a mix of sounds?
Yeah, it's a two.
It's two again.
Yeah,
so there's a super big difference between number two and the others. And the first difference is that the vowel sound has a longer duration, but also it's a dirty vowel sound. It's mixed with a lot of other sounds. Listen to how many sounds do you hear in number two? Mass.
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 Mass. How many sounds?
Mass. Yeah, is it two?
Three. E-I-A. Ea.
Mass. Yes.
Mass.
Mass.
Mass. Right. So that one's really easy to explain because it's so different from the other two. It's got three parts to it, like that. Mass.
Mass.
Okay. Now number one and number three are more complicated. Mess. Miss. Mess. Miss.
Mess.
Okay.
Mess.
Mess. If when you're making these sounds, there's air coming out of your mouth. It's coming from here. It's going out. Okay, and how you direct the energy of that air is what's going to make the sound. So if you say mess, you kind of want to push the energy up here. When you feel the air come out, it shouldn't actually go out. It should maybe hit the middle of your mouth. Mess.
Mess.
Mess. You should feel the energy of the air hitting the top here, not really going out, but hitting the top.
Yeah.
Mess.
As before. As before, I was doing like the pushing air outside. Yeah, but it is.
Yeah, you have to actually. It tries to go outside, but you have to stop it and make it go back. Mess. You have to control it.
Mess.
Miss.
Mess.
Miss will go out more. Miss will go out. Miss. Push it out.
Miss.
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 That's right. So if you say mess, you kind of have to hold the air back. But if you say miss, you push it out. Say number one.
Yes. Mess.
Mess. So you're redirecting the air. It sounds pretty clear, actually. Mess. Say number two.
Is it mass? Mass.
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 Say number.
Mass.
That's good. That's very clear. Say number three.
is a miss.
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 Push it out. Right. Can you try that, Alex? Can you say number one?
Mass, miss,
Mess.
mass, miss,
Oh, just say number one.
miss.
Say number. Oh, it sounds like you're saying number three. Say number one.
That I'm a bit confused. Yeah, I'm a bit confused with short e and
Okay.
the mass, miss, mass.
All right.
Confused.
Well, you know, if we're just focusing on number one and number three, okay. If you say
Okay.
number one, when you're making the vowel sound, you're pushing. When you're making the vowel.
Mass.
What?
Mass.
Try to just direct the air, prevent it from going out, make it push up to the top of your mouth instead. Mess.
Mass. Yeah.
But when you say number three, you push the air out all the way. Miss.
Yeah.
Another way to think about it is you try to eat the E, but you don't try to eat. You try to eat number one, but you don't try to eat number three. Say number one and try to eat the vowel sound.
Mess.
You're kind of pushing it down your throat.
Mess. Yeah.
But when you say number three, don't try to eat that. Just let it come out.
Miss.
Yes, it's pretty clear. Say number one.
Mass.
Yeah, it's like you've got to try to eat the E. And say number three.
Miss.
Okay, perfect. So, Pachu, can you say the sentence again? He took the mess in hand.
He took the mess in hand.
Okay, he took the mess in hand. Can you try that, Alex?
He took the mess in hand.
Okay, can you change it to problem?
He took the problems in hand.
Okay, but so try to add a little music and try to emphasize the important sounds and not emphasize the words that are not important. Can you say it again?
He took the problems in hand.
Okay, he took the problems in hand. All right, can you try that, Pachu?
Yeah, he took the problem in hand.
Okay, can you change it to team? The team, Pachu?
He took the team in hand.
Okay, is it team or team?
It's a team.
It's very important to recognize and pronounce the vowel sounds that are longer in duration. Because if you say he took the team, that would be a little bit hard for people to understand. But if you say he took the team, a very big, long sound, that's very easy to understand. He took the team in hand.
Yeah, he took the team in hand.
That sounds much better. Can you try that, Alex? He took the team in hand.
He took the team in hand.
Okay, great. So now let's go on to our next expression here, which is to no avail. Now, don't tell me, Alex, that we've done this before.
No.
Okay.
We haven't before.
But have you seen it?
Veil is something unrevealed or something in vein, like
Oh.
But as expression, the first time, yeah.
Okay, well, I think you're thinking of a different word, which is veil. A veil is like a covering for especially for the head, but not necessarily. But
Oh yeah, and I mix it with vein. In vein. Oh yeah. To be in vain, something in vain.
No. To be in vain, and to no avail are synonyms. They're very similar. They have a similar meaning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I tried to get a job, but it was in vain. That means I didn't succeed. Mm-hmm. But you could also say I tried to get a job, but to no avail. It means the same.
Avail, yeah. That's why I mixed them up. Yep. In vain, avail.
Okay. So have you seen that before, Pachu? To no avail.
Yeah, actually, avail is I have seen.
Well, it's very common for things like available, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, but here this expression to no avail means it was useless. It didn't produce anything. Is that pretty clear? Is that pretty clear?
Yes, 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 sir.
Okay, I'm going to change this sentence a little bit. I'm going to add but here. I think we could practice a little bit extra something here. Can you see the sentence on the screen, Pachu?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can you read it? What does it say?
I searched to no avail.
Okay, I added the word but, so it says I searched, but to no avail.
I searched, but to no avail.
Okay, what does that mean, Pachu? I searched, but to no avail.
I searched, but it was not available.
Oh, don't think of available. Just think of no avail means no result. It was useless. It didn't work.
Okay, sir.
You get
So
confused if
I
you start.
searched, but
Go ahead.
yes, I searched, but it was not the perfect result.
It didn't. Not a perfect result. No result. No result.
Okay.
What?
It so it
Mhm.
was no result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you say to no avail, you didn't get any result. Nothing happened. Okay. Is that pretty clear?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
What are the important words, Pachu, in that phrase?
So the searched and is avail.
Tell me in a
You
different.
know, is
Tell me that sentence in a different way. I searched, but what?
I searched, but to
Mhm.
no avail.
And the important words are.
Searched and no, maybe, but
Uh,
yes, avail is sure.
okay. I think you're right. I think we have to use no. We have to use no here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay because it fits very nicely for our pattern. Avail. That's two syllables. Which syllable should we focus on, Pachu? Avail.
Yeah, is is a no. Yes, no part.
Okay, how about avail? Which part should we emphasize? We have to emphasize that word. Should we emphasize the first syllable, or the second syllable, veil?
Veil.
That's right. That's right. So we identify the accented syllable, and we're going to make that a star of our phrase. And now we have our big small pattern. I searched, but to no avail.
I searched, but no avail.
But to no. You have to use to no avail.
Okay. I searched, but to no avail.
Can you try to say it like one long word? I searched, but probably we have to stop at search. I searched, but to no avail.
I searched, but to no avail.
Okay, because if you want to sound natural, the big sounds in the sentence get really a lot of attention, but the other sounds that are not important get almost no attention. So that's the big small rhythm of an accent in English. Can you try that, Alex? I searched, but to no avail.
I searched, but to no avail.
Okay. Whoops, my dogs. I usually, when I take my little break, I let the dogs out, but I forgot. So now they're getting excited. Okay. I searched, but to no avail. All right. Alex, do you remember how we used though at the end of a sentence? How would you change this sentence
Yep.
putting though at the end of the sentence, meaning but?
Okay. I searched to no avail, though.
I searched to no avail, though. So we'll change that. We'll get fancy here.
I searched to no avail, though. Yeah.
Okay.
That was Tuesday, yeah?
Yeah, that was just a few days ago. That's a good
Yeah,
thing
Tuesday.
because it's pretty common. It's a pretty common thing to do. So
Yeah.
it's useful to practice it. Can you try that, Pachu? Using though meaning but at the end of a sentence?
Okay. I searched to no avail, though.
Okay. I searched to no avail, though.
To no avail, though.
I searched to no avail, though.
Yeah, don't stop. Make this like one word. Veil, though.
Avail, though.
Mm-hmm. I searched, but to no avail, though. Oh, I said but.
I searched to no avail, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, so I have to make a long avail sound so that it will connect smoothly.
Mm-hmm. Avail, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I searched to no avail, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, but also
Avail.
no is important. So no avail, though.
I searched to no avail, though.
Okay, I searched to no avail, though.
Yeah. I searched to no avail, though.
Mm-hmm. To no avail, though.
No avail, though.
Mm-hmm. Like that. I searched to no avail, though.
I searched to no avail, though.
Okay, not avail. Avail. Great. That's your favorite sound.
Yes.
Long A, yeah.
Avail, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Search,
No
but
avail, though.
I searched to no avail, though.
I searched, but no avail, though.
Okay, well, no, let's not say the but, because the word though actually means but here. And it's placed in a weird position at the final part of the sentence. I searched to no avail, though.
I searched to no avail, though.
Can you change it, Pachu? Can you say begged? Begged?
I begged to
Mhm.
no avail, though.
Yeah, I begged to no avail, though.
I begged to no avail, though.
Is it avail or avail?
Avail.
Mhm. That's
Avail, though.
really important.
Yeah. This word I have seen a million times, but
Mhm.
I cannot know the exact meaning. But I come across a lot of times. I just see and forget. Actually, I have not used myself, so it is a bit uh, difficult for me. And the meaning, actually,
Well, I
is
think
a
the
bit.
meaning depends on what other words you're using. So sometimes avail can mean something very different. So in this, you have to think of this like
Yeah.
an expression. To no avail means no result. It's three words that you always use together, and that combination means no result.
Okay.
Okay, but you will see avail in other contexts meaning different things. But then you have to look at the other words surrounding avail to know what it means. So we're just focusing
Okay, sir.
on no result, which is to no avail.
Okay, sir. Oh, to no avail. Okay,
Can you say it
sir.
again? I
Okay.
begged to no avail, though.
I begged to no avail, though.
So that means I begged, but I didn't get what I wanted. Can you try that, Alex?
I begged to no avail, though.
Okay, let's change it. How about hope?
I hoped to no avail, though.
What does that mean? That sounds very sad. What does that mean?
Yeah. There is no hope.
There's no hope, no result. I hoped, but it didn't work.
Mm.
Say it again.
I hoped to no avail, though.
Can you try that, Pachu?
I hope to no avail, though.
I hoped, comma, to no avail, though.
I hope to no avail, though.
Yeah, there is a pause. Okay, now, Pachu, is it avail or avail?
Avail. Avail.
Long A, Bachu.
Yeah.
Long A.
And there's even, because of the L, there's even an extra sound. So usually a long A is E, but because of this L, there's a little mysterious there. So it's A.
Yes. Yeah. It helps me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bail. Yeah. L is there, so I can figure
Veil.
out. Yeah, a veil. A
Mhm.
veil.
I hoped to no
Yes.
avail, though.
I hoped to no avail, though.
Okay. All right. Well, that was easy. Let's move on to me. I think we did meander before. I'm kind of remembering that we did that, and we probably practiced it, right, Alex?
Yes.
Or Pachu?
No, I know.
You know?
Yeah. No, I know.
Y-
Yes.
Yeah, I'm quite sure, but I hold myself up until I don't want to say that every time. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, but anyway, it's a useful thing to practice, so it's fine.
yeah.
Matter. It's just I'm going
No,
crazy.
I have to know the meaning of this because I have to use in my one of my tasks. So
How do you
this is word, yeah.
in which way do you use the word meander in your task? Can you say?
If there is any like ocean and there is a uh, there is a path and we have to describe what is the meander, yeah, something.
Oh, so sometimes you have to describe geography in your job,
Yes.
like the land.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, you could say
Yes.
there's a meandering path to the well, right? Something like that, right?
Yes.
No, that works.
Yes.
But that what you're saying though, it means is not direct. It's not a straight path to the well. You have to go like this,
Yeah.
and like this, and like this. Maybe it's
Yeah.
inconvenient.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So, Pachu, can you read the sentence that we have here? What does it say?
I meandered through the forest.
How many syllables in the word meander?
Meandered. Yeah, is it two?
Three.
Three.
Meandered. Yeah, is it
Me,
It.
me, and
me and dirt? Yeah, three.
okay. So the first syllable finishes with a vowel sound, and the next syllable starts with a vowel sound, right, Pachu?
Yes, sir.
So what does that mean that we have to do?
Yes. So yes, I know. Yes, this make the extra sound I is
Okay.
e meander
Yeah, because
separate.
me is an e sound. We're going to repeat it to separate the two syllables. So it's very clear that you're saying three syllables. Me and. You make a bridge. Me-and.
Meandered.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you can say it like that. Meandered, but that's a little unnatural. It's clear, but it's a little unnatural. If you tried to build a bridge with an extra e, that would be better. Meandered.
Meandered.
Try not to stop.
Meandered.
It's meandered.
Meandered.
Like that. That's how you should say it. Meandered.
Meandered.
Like that. That's good. No stopping. It's just one long sound that changes sounds as it goes. It doesn't stop. Meandered.
Meandered.
Okay. I meandered through the forest. Can you say it again?
I meandered through the forest.
And that's very clear and very nice. So you should try to continue practicing that. Can you try to say that, Alex?
Yeah.
I meandered through the forest.
I meandered through. Okay. What do you think sounds better? Through or through?
Through.
Yeah, it's a big sound. It's not a small sound.
Yeah, longer.
It has a longer duration than what you're giving it. So it sounds like this. Through the. Okay.
I
I meandered
meandered.
forest.
I meandered through the I meandered through the forest. Yeah.
What are the important words in that sentence, Alex?
Meandered through forest.
I don't really think I meandered through the forest. I don't really think that we should this vowel sound through is long. It must be long, but I don't think that we need to emphasize it.
If it says okay.
So I think it sounds like this. Well, first of all, let's find the important sounds. And meandered. What is the important sound?
Meander.
Meandered. And how about in forest? What is the important sound?
Forest.
Through the forest.
Yeah.
You know, we meandered through the forest. I guess we could emphasize through. Maybe we should. We meandered through the forest. It could go either way. Okay, we'll emphasize it. Just to keep the rhythm. Because really, andered through the is maybe too many small words, small sounds at once. It's good to break it up with something big to keep the rhythm. So, I meandered through the forest. Can you try to say it with the accent?
I meandered through the forest.
Through the.
I meandered through the forest.
I meandered through the forest. Which tones are high and which tones are low in that sentence?
I meandered I meandered through the forest. Through the forest. Forest is.
What are the high tones? Which sounds have very high tones and which sounds have very low tones?
The meandered me. I meandered.
Okay.
Yeah, I meandered through the
and
forest.
Through is also high. How about forest?
Yeah. The O is a bit high. Forest.
Well, because it's the end of a sentence, you probably will want to start bringing it down, okay? Because when you finish a phrase or a sentence, that's sort of a signal that you're finished talking, is to lower the tone. So, I meandered through the forest.
I meandered through the forest.
Can you try that, Pachu? I meandered through the forest.
I meandered through.
Uh-oh. Pachu, you're breaking up.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead, try again.
I meandered through the forest.
I meandered through the forest. Keep through kind of high. I meandered through the forest.
I meandered through the forest.
Okay, let's change it. Let's say she and museum. How will you change that with she and museum?
Oh, so I saw.
She and museum. No more I.
She meandered.
Go ahead. Yeah, you're right. Keep going. She and museum.
Okay. She meandered through the museum.
Perfect. Now, when you say shh, don't forget to whistle. She.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So she meandered through the museum.
Okay, is that an important sound?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes.
So how do you pronounce it? If me is a very important sound, how do you say it?
The me.
She meandered.
She meandered through the museum.
Forest. Oh, through the museum. Sorry.
She meandered through the museum.
She meandered through the museum. Again.
She meandered through the museum.
Can you try that, Alex? She meandered through the museum.
She meandered through the museum.
Okay, is it museum or museum?
Museum.
Museum. Let me hear Z. Z is the big sound in that word.
Okay. She meandered through the museum.
Okay, you're saying museum, but it's not. It's museum.
Museum. Okay. She meandered through the museum.
You're saying museum, but it's museum.
Museum. Okay. She meandered through the museum.
You're saying museum. It's
Museum.
museum.
Okay. She meandered through the museum.
You're saying museum again. It seems like you can say it if it's separate. It's easy for you to say, but in a phrase, it's not more. It's confusing you. Say
museum. Yeah.
Exaggerate.
She meandered. Yeah. She meandered. She meandered through the museum.
No. Exaggerate it. Say Z.
Museum. Okay.
Z.
She meandered through the museum.
That's better. That's much better. You have to exaggerate it for a while until you get in the habit of just emphasizing the Z.
Okay.
She meandered.
Museum.
She meandered through the museum. Okay. Let's change it to down the path. They and down the path. Can you change that, Alex? They and down the path.
Okay. They meandered down the path.
Okay. Now, are you taking a bath?
Yeah,
Washing your body?
Okay, no. She meandered through down the path.
No more through. We're using down. Different preposition.
Down the path. Okay. She meandered down the path.
Are you taking a bath? Are you washing your body?
No, path. Yeah, path. That's. What can I do?
You just have to start getting in. You have to change a very old bad habit.
That was path. Okay. She meandered down the path.
Oh, that was good. That was very clear. Okay. All right. Can you try that, Pat? Let's use they, not she. Say they meandered down the path.
They meandered down the path.
They meandered down the path. Right. Okay. All right. We've got one more word for today. And this is kind of an interesting one. I know we haven't done it. I'm sure.
We'll see.
we'll
see.
Do you know what you say, Alex? You say, I'll be the judge of that. That's an expression. That's like, let me decide because you don't know how to do it. Like, I'll be the judge of that.
No. No. We haven't done before.
Yeah.
We haven't did before.
Yeah, I was pretty sure about that because when I saw this, I got excited and I thought, oh, this is a good one. Okay. I didn't put a definition here. Wait, let me get my definition. I missed this one. Let me put it here. Okay, so to lap something up. First of all, lapping, it could be confusing because the word lap could mean several things. But here, it's the way that a dog drinks or an animal. You know, if an animal goes to water, they don't drink like a human with a cup or maybe with their hands. They use their tongue and they go like that. That's lapping. That's lapping. Right. Have you seen that before? Have you seen that verb to lap describing the way an animal drinks liquid?
No. I haven't.
Maybe, Panchu, have you? Because you sometimes have to work with animals or close with animals, don't you?
Yes, but here the word lap I have seen, But yeah, this is the phrasal verb, so I don't know
Yeah.
the meaning.
Yeah, but lapping, I'm just explaining that word lap is it's a verb that talks about the way an animal drinks, like that.
Okay, so the buffalo, like buffalo,
Like a
drink
buffalo,
water in different.
like a
Yeah,
buffalo, or I use
the
dogs
goat.
because, yeah, or a goat. I use dogs
Yes,
because I have dogs and I hear them all the time. That sound, that's lapping up water. And what do you think,
yes, sir, yes,
Paju?
sir, yeah.
When the animals drink, are they, especially on a very hot day, are they very happy to enjoy their water?
Yes, yeah. They
Yes.
go swimming.
They love
They
it,
go
right?
swimming
They love
and
the water. And they love to drink it.
yeah.
It's very refreshing, right?
Yes, at young age, like 13 and 14 years
Hmm.
of old age, and I was doing mm, what is called the shepherd, yeah, for
Shepherd. You were a
buffalo.
shepherd? You
Yes,
were a
shepherd.
shepherd?
Yes,
You were
yeah,
shepherding
because I
animals?
was studying I
Mhm.
was studying in school and doing my work, my family work.
Your chores. Your chores.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you're very familiar with the sound of animals drinking.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Sarah's asking, is a lap a bosom? See, this is the problem. Lap means more than one thing. So I'm telling you lap in the form of a verb, and even then it could mean different things. But here we're talking about animals really enjoying drinking water. Okay? Especially think of so the Sarah's question is lap, bosom? No. This is bosom, the chest area. This is bosom right here, like where your heart is. That's where your bosom is. Sometimes bosom is a synonym for heart. Like, you will always be in my bosom. That means you will always be in my heart because bosom is where your heart is. So it's a synonym. But lap is, let me show you a picture. Lap is a different part of the body. And here's a good picture. See how the man is sitting? And what do you call that computer that he's looking at? That's called a laptop because the computer is sitting in his lap. That's why it's called a laptop, because that area, your thighs, your upper thighs, is called a lap. So if you have a little kid, you say, "Come over here, sit on my lap." So it's when you're sitting down, that place where you can put things is called your lap. Does that make sense? So it's not a bosom,
Yes.
but it is a body part. Okay, but we're not talking about lap in that sense. We're talking about lap in the sense that an animal drinks water, and it's a verb. Okay, and so what I want you to imagine is on a very, very hot day, that shouldn't be difficult to imagine in Egypt or also, I guess, Nepal. Although I always think Nepal is
Yes.
snowy and cold because I just think of mountains. But I guess it could be hot. Like, does it get as hot as India, Nepal?
Yes.
Really? It gets
Yes.
that hot?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because in Nepal there are two parts, like the mountain part and other is the
The
plain part. That's called Tarai. Yeah. So
plane.
this is the area where high temperature like 40, 43,
Oh,
45
oh
even
yeah. Okay.
go. Yeah. In summer.
I didn't even because I think even if it's no mountains, it seems pretty far north to have all that heat. But wow.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes.
Wow. So imagine a hot day in Egypt. That's not difficult. Or a hot day in Nepal. That's not difficult. And the poor
Yeah.
animal finally finds some water, and they're so happy. Oh, water! And they just drink it.
Yes. Yes.
Right? They're so happy. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So you could say lap up. He lapped the water up. That means he drank all the water, right? But we can use it for information or for other things. You'll see in a minute, okay? Let's start with the first example. If I say, she lapped, I'm just going to make a sentence here. She lapped up praise. What is praise, Alex?
Praise, appreciation, good words. Like,
Okay. Do people enjoy appreciation? Do they enjoy compliments when people give them compliments?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Imagine someone who gets no compliments and suddenly they get a lot of compliments. Will they be extra happy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would it be like a very thirsty animal on a very hot day in the desert in Egypt finding water?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because that's what it means. I mean, that's what it means. Oh, water. Oh, I love it. It's so wonderful. I'm so happy I get the water, right? It's like enjoying. It's like feeling relief. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does, yeah.
But you can use that in an abstract way, for example, with praise, with compliments. What does that mean? She lapped up praise.
She enjoyed
Mhm.
praise, or she was
Yeah.
happy with the
She was
praise.
just saying, "Oh, thank you. I love it. I love it. This is so wonderful." Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Say the sentence.
She lapped up praise.
Okay. And what are the important words?
Lap praise.
Well, so lap is a phrasal verb. And is it literal?
Okay, but it's no, it's abstract. Abstract. So
Well,
up.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
it's abstract in the sense that we're not talking about water, but if you know the word lap, which means the way an animal drinks, and if you know that the word up sometimes means 100% completely, then there's a very strong relationship between the words and the object. Like she took it 100% is sort of what it means. And you could understand that by looking at the words. Don't you agree? Or no?
If you
Yeah.
know what lap means
Yes.
as an animal drinks, okay, you could guess the meaning. But
Yeah, you could.
for me,
Yeah.
it was very hard to understand it because I
But
didn't know the other meaning for lap.
yeah,
I
but
didn't mean.
now that you do know, it's kind of obvious or it makes sense. Do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
agree?
yeah. It
Okay.
does, yeah.
So that means even though we're talking about an abstract sentence, she's not really ingesting anything. It's a literal phrasal verb. It's a literal interpretation. So which word do you think we should emphasize, lap or up?
The preposition, I think.
Okay, you're right. You're right. It should be the preposition. So we're going to emphasize. We have to emphasize that word because it's a very literal phrasal verb here. But also, praise is an important word. Do you agree, Alex?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now this is creating a problem because what we're doing now is we're trying to build the rhythm of an English sentence, which is big, small, big, small, big, small. But here we have big, big, and that's English.
Big, yeah.
English doesn't like big, big. It likes big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small. So, but we can't do anything about this. So what do we have to do?
We have to apply a pause, like what a pause between them.
Pause.
Pause. Yeah.
Paw. Paw. Make sure you're spitting.
Yeah.
Pause. Okay.
Okay.
So the way this will sound, you're going to have to pause. She lapped up praise.
She lapped up praise.
Yeah, because you can't put two big sounds like that together. Can you try that, Pachu?
She lapped up praise.
Okay, that's good. Let's Pachu, let's change the sentence to the story.
She lapped up stories.
The story. The story.
She lapped up the story.
She lapped What does that mean? Now that you know what lap up means, what do you think that she lapped up the story means?
Yeah, means she enjoyed the story happily.
Yes.
Yeah, or sometimes lap up can also mean she completely believed the lie. She completely accepted the lie. So I think maybe it could mean something like this here. Like, she totally believed me. She see the definition here, eagerly. Oh no, you don't see it. She eagerly accept. So if sometimes story means lie, it sounds to me like she's completely believing a ridiculous story. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
She lapped if the story.
I made a mistake. I don't know why I put if here. Okay, she lapped up the story.
Okay, she lapped up the story.
It means like she totally believed it. She completely accepted it. Does that make sense, Pach? Is that pretty confusing?
No, it is clear.
Okay. All right. So say that again one more time. She lapped up the story.
She lapped up the story.
Okay, or she lapped up the story. Sorry, I shouldn't do it like that. Can you try that, Alex?
She lapped up the story.
She lapped up the story. Perfect. Okay, let's change it one more time. The compliments. Can you change it? Can you change it, Alex?
Yep. She lapped up the compliments.
Okay, it's another interesting thing. I'm just going to put this here because we've been talking about it. Let's put two words. We've got lapped up.
Yep.
And then we've got laptop. How would you? Yeah. How do you pronounce number one?
Laptop.
Okay, laptop.
Laptop. Yeah.
Laptop. Emphasize up.
Laptop. Yeah.
Laptop.
Laptop. Yeah.
Laptop. Okay. And how do you say number two?
Laptop.
Laptop.
Laptop. Yeah.
Remember, if you have two words together, it's usually the first word that's going to get the attention. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So this is another reason why it's really important to, or most of the time, to emphasize the up here, because if you don't, especially with your situation with confusing B's and P's, oh no, that's not a problem here. But number one is lapped up, and number two is
laptop. Yeah. Laptop.
Pachu, can you say number one?
Laptop.
Okay, lapped up.
Laptop.
Lapped up. Make up big and lap small.
Laptop.
Yeah.
Laptop.
Lapped up. How do you say number two?
It's a laptop.
Laptop. So that's really important, because if you get the accent wrong, it sounds like the other word. And they're very different words. Okay. So, Alex, can you say she lapped up the compliments?
Lapped up the compliment.
She lapped up the compliments.
She lapped up the compliment.
Okay. Can you try that, Pachu?
She lapped up the compliments.
She lapped up the compliments. I keep saying it the wrong way. I keep telling you one way and doing it the other. She lapped up.
She lapped up the compliments.
Okay. All right. I think this is where we have to finish for today. We will be back in about 2.5 hours with Sarah, and we're going to practice some more IELTS. There will be more opportunities to volunteer in the third hour. So the first 2 hours, we'll be working with Sarah, and then the final hour, we can take 2 volunteers. Okay, and we're going to just be specifically working on IELTS material for achieving band 7. So we'll be back in a couple of hours. All right. Thank you for participating
Thank you,
and
sir.
thank you for your questions. And I hope to see you back pretty soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.